Greetings, film freaks. We are the Podcorn Kernels. Join us as we discuss the hard and often indigestible truths that are at the center of the fluffy and delicious world of cinema. Season 2.
What's poppin', people? Welcome to the Podcorn Kernels podcast. My name is Adam, and joining me in your earholes is Harry. Say hello, Harry.
At Secretion Subways, we believe in sustainability, and that's why our number one roll is the synthetic tuna meat with fish flavoring. If you're wondering where your family are, well, I can tell you. They're at Secretions. So head on down and make it a family footlong. Synthetic tuna meat with fish flavoring may contain poultry bones and or methamphetamine.
On today's episode, we will be talking about Monsters. This is a 2010 film directed by Gareth Edwards and stars Scoot McNairy, Whitney Able, and Mario Zuniga Benavides. IMDb describes the synopsis as follows. 6 years after Earth has suffered an alien invasion, a cynical journalist agrees to escort a shaken American tourist through an infected zone in Mexico to the safety of the US border. Here is an original song to support the synopsis.
Amor in la zona infectada, running from fear into each other. Wish we weren't here, wish we were lovers. Fret from above and danger below. Hope it's enough, together we'll know. Amor in la zona infectada, together we'll know. Together we'll know. Amor in la zona infectada.
This episode was requested by Cara Lynn at Too Spooky For You on Instagram. Thanks for listening, Cara Lynn. If you are a listener that would like us to cover a film you love, loathe, or love to loathe, please do get in touch. Let's start with some facts about the film. The film was improvised, with little to no outline of scenes and their direction. The two main actors were given a general outline of scenes and simply interacted with one another and the other cast members, many of whom were not actors. All the shots were improvised as well.
It's got that City of God feel. They used the locals to act in scenes, but why is it so naturalistic?
I think for a first-time director to make such an unrealistic premise feel so realistic is a marvel. The fact that all of this is improvised and the actors just went along for the ride, you know, there's not a director there going, cut, now do this. Cut, now do that. He's just letting it flow. It adds a sense of believability to something that should feel so unbelievable, so alien.
That's mad. I know it didn't have something like 6-7 hour film and had to edit it down, obviously, because of all the footage. So I suppose if you are doing improv scenes, you need multiple takes or multiple, try it this way, try it that way, and to have a menu to pick from when it comes to editing it down from what he actually had footage-wise. But what always stuns me with when people take this chance in films, I know Gladiator was highly improvised in terms of dialogue. There wasn't really a script for it. Some magic does come from it.
Yeah.
Like in this film, I couldn't believe the bystanders and some of the support, well, not even actors, real-life people just playing a part in a movie. Oh, it was impressive in that regard. It
takes real balls to be given some funds to make a film and be like, you know what, I'm just going to wing it. Those extras, just going to use the general public. They can just get involved. And I guess for a film like this, they're going to be looking at these actors with like bemusement and quizzically. So they're going to be looking at them going, why are you here? What's happening? Why are you in this part of town? And it actually aligns with the story, so it all works.
Well, they were a tiny crew as well, weren't they? I think it was like 6-7 people in a van, and they went between 4 or 5 different countries, Guatemala, Mexico, USA, got no permission to film there or anything. I mean, it's Gareth Edwards. To think that the guy outside of the original Star Wars trilogy made what I consider the best Star Wars film.
Oh, without a doubt, Rogue One is heads and shoulders above all the newer ones. Yeah.
Rogue One is the only Star Wars film to ever step away from the original trilogy and not keep trying to pat your back and say, oh, look, let's see 3PO. Oh, my God, it's Leia.
Yeah.
Fuck off.
Yeah.
Stop breaking the fourth wall and trying to egg hunt me with your member berries. Rogue One is exceptional, and I think he deserved to get a Rogue One after doing Monsters.
Yeah, and then you look at his evolution of filmmaking since then as well, and he's done The Creator and Godzilla. I wasn't a huge fan of Godzilla, but I thought The Creator was really exciting. You see what a mind like this can do with a bigger budget, and I find it fascinating looking at his first film, and you can tell this is a man who loves to tell a science fiction story. He does it so well. And yeah, I'm just amazed and applaud the bollocks of him to just be able to be like, you know what? Don't worry, lads. Don't worry, ladies. We're just going to go and wing it. And what happens.
He's fascinated with alien stories. I was reading, like he had a treatment he was working on, and then War of the Worlds came out, and it put him off it. He wanted to do a documentary-esque filmed one like Blair Witch, and then Cloverfield came out. So I think it was Cloverfield, and then he was like, so he dropped it again. And then the inspiration behind this one was the squid, wasn't it? He saw a fisherman pulling in a squid, and he had an idea that stemmed from that. That's mad.
It's great. And another layer to this was that the two leads, Scoot McNairy and Whitney Able, were married when they made this. I believe they're no longer together.
They were boyfriend girlfriend, weren't they?
Yeah, but you can feel that chemistry, and you need that chemistry in a film that is largely improvised. You need to have your two leads being comfortable to express themselves with each other. If these were two actors that just met on set, it would be an awful lot to ask them to be like, make it up as you go. It's a lot of pressure in front of a crew to just be like, make it up. But if you're with the person that you're with day to day, I can imagine that would be a lot easier. And as a result, I think Monsters benefits from it.
Yeah, well, Gareth Edwards said he wanted a couple, and someone told him to look at Scoot McNairy's. He was in an independent film. I asked him to look at it, and he goes, "I did want a couple." And he goes, "Oh, I'll show you a photo of my girlfriend." And Gareth Edwards thought she was too good looking, but then it worked out.
Yeah.
Pretty cool.
Yeah, I think it works with those two at the helm for sure. The film was shot entirely on location. Any settings featured in the film were real locations, often used without advance permission, and all the film's extras were just people who happened to be there at the time. I mean, it's just a vibe, isn't it?
Oh, sorry, I jumped the gun and mentioned that by accident.
No, that's all right, no worries. But the fact that they just rocked up somewhere and they're like, right, we're going to try it here today, right, and action.
That's cool.
I just love that avant-garde filmmaking from a debut director. If that was me, I would have everything to a T planned. I'd have a schedule, I'd have timing, everything. But if even someone when they should have I would have been like, excuse me, no, that's not what I've got written down here. To have that confidence and that level of freedom with the first thing you ever do, the first feature film you ever do, I'm just amazed by it.
You're encyclopedic, though. So if you were to do a book or a film, it would be encyclopedic. It would be pinpoint.
Yeah, it would.
Yeah, it would take 12 years for you to make a 90-minute film.
Yeah, it would.
Which ain't a bad thing.
I take it as a compliment because I'm a thorough boy.
A thorough boy?
I think I'm a thorough boy.
Do you know what that sounds like? That you go to a university called Thorough?
Yes.
Thorough boy.
Oh, yeah.
Like Cornell. I'm a thorough boy.
Yes. I'm a thorough boy through and through. Monsters is included among the 1001 movies you must see before you die, edited by Steven Schneider.
Schneider! That must be to do with the achievement. I mean, Gareth Edwards was his own sound guy. He was his own special effects dude. I can't believe he sat and did the special effects for this.
He's his own dad.
He did it all.
Yeah.
I mean, I think the editing was like to insert the alien special effects, which he used public mass market consumer software to do, not industry level.
It just gets more impressive, doesn't it?
It's ridiculous. I think he edited for like 8-9 months on his own in a room.
Yeah.
I mean, imagine that. Imagine you've just popped around Central America, North America, doing some jungle avant-garde guerrilla filmmaking, and then you sit in your room for 9 months editing, and then you've created a movie that's highly regarded.
Yeah.
As one of the best independent films.
Yeah, I mean, we did an episode recently, The Vast of Night, and that is another one that's an independently made film, just a guy coming up with an idea and financing it. Andrew Patterson, yeah. And I was surprised that was included in the 1001 movies you must see before you die. And I'm a little surprised that this one is as well. But then if you really think about it, we've spoken already a fair bit about the feat of filmmaking that this is, the confidence, the balls, the self-esteem, the believability to go ahead and do this, to sort of advance his ambitions, to follow his singular vision, to do that. I think if a first-time director are doing all those things, similar to Andrew Patterson, that is certainly deserving of a nod.
It's an underdog story.
Yeah.
The task, the undertaking from someone who had, let's say they did this on $500,000, like to go and do what they did, get it to DVD, get it to cinema, or, limited screenings, but also to get a cult following for it. Like huge studios and, loads of producers, loads of famous names attached to a movie, and it comes out average.
Yeah.
Woof.
Yeah.
It's like if you're the support act for AC/DC or Guns N' Roses and you do a better job than them, you've won. But if you do a worse job, it doesn't matter. You were the support act.
Exactly. Yeah.
If you're the headliner and you fuck up, you fucked up big.
That's a great analogy. If the expectations are low and you exceed them, everyone's going to be applauding you.
And you just made that analogy better.
Oh, we vibe today, huh?
Layers, lasagna.
Love a lasagna. What did you like about Monsters?
Okay, so the foreshadowing about how it pays $50,000 to take a photo of a dead child and nothing for a happy one is excellent.
Booth.
Especially when you see Scoot McNairy's character make that decision in the film later, when he does finally see a dead child that's been killed by one of these aliens, and you think he's reaching for his lens to take a photo, but what he actually does is he takes out like a little blanket, puts it over the dead body, and then puts a flower on it. So I thought that was really interesting because that's very true to media and true to real devastation and wars, isn't it? You see it now with the Gaza and Palestine conflict. It's almost like we can't look away.
Yes.
The shock sells, the brutality sells, especially like the Ukraine war when that was when it was really going on. I mean, it is now, but I thought that was really interesting. It got me thinking like how much Monsters reminds me of Michael Herr's Dispatches, which is a book I read a few years ago about a journalist that went to Vietnam War, spent 2 years there documenting it all. And it was during the time as well where that, that famous photo, a South Vietnamese officer shooting a guy in the head. And it happens live on camera. And the guy who took that photo didn't even know it was about to happen. He turned his camera up and it happened. And at the time that he pressed click on the camera, the bullet was already in the guy's head.
Yeah.
And Michael Herr talks in Dispatches about how if war was so terrible, we wouldn't do it all the time. There's a rush to it. People deny it because it's shameful. It's taboo to turn away from it. But he said, lots of soldiers talk about like there's nothing else like it.
Yeah.
Obviously, they don't. It's not that they enjoy killing, but when they finally do it, it's like a surge.
Yeah, it's interesting you say that because there's similar themes explored in a film that's out at the moment, Civil War by Alex Garland, and it explores all of that, like how war is like the worst thing that can happen to a group of people, and to be caught up in a conflict is horrific. It's nightmare fuel. But there's always going to be someone there that's profiting from that, whether it's a photographer, whether it's a journalist, whether it's the people declaring war. There's always someone that benefits it. And that film as well, it explores that surge, like you say, of adrenaline, of that need to get that fix. And it's something I never really thought of. But after watching Civil War and after hearing you say that and seeing Scoot McNairy's character make that decision not to chase that buzz, not to be like, I can get the 50K here for a photo. He showed a bit more humanity. Yeah. And in a film that is basically a journey of two people, you show that he's evolved on that journey, because at the start of the film, you get the sense that if he saw that, he's taking that picture immediately. He wants that 50K.
Well, at the start, he's in a rush for it. He's rushing to get to the front line to document it, but really it's money related with it, and he even admits it. He's not there to document it to then sell an article about how tragic this war is. He's there to get the money that his soon-to-be partner in crime's dad, his big firm, his big media company would pay him for a photo of a dead child. I just thought it was really, that must be a line that was important for the film.
Yeah. You think that you in a film that's so improvised and so relaxed in terms of structure, you feel like there's certain points,
that must have been
checkpoints, that must have. Well, we need to hit that mark at this point.
They say that, don't they, in the improv scenes? If a director he says, as long as you hit this point, you can improvise up to it. Yes. There's another line in the film which I found really, really interesting. Is when Sam, is it Sam, the girl?
Sam Wyndon.
Sam Wyndon, sorry. When she says to him, do you not get sick of the fact that you only make money if someone gets hurt or injured or something? And he says, what, like a doctor? And obviously a doctor's job is to help people when they...
Exactly.
But he's only there because of some sort of tragedy or ailment or injury. So I thought there's some writing in it that did seem intentional.
I think if you go into this and you're expecting a surface level alien invasion flick, I think you'll be pleasantly surprised, because there's a lot more subtext to it. It's a lot more profound than maybe the front cover would suggest, and the synopsis would suggest. There's a lot more going on for it, and I really like that about the film.
Yeah,
and it's interesting you bring that point up, because we've seen so many films, we've seen so much foreshadowing within films. When he says that it's 50k for a dead child photograph, and you see him see a dead child, you immediately think, like you say, oh, this is where he's going to make some money. And the fact that it doesn't really works in the film's favour.
Yeah, because the woman's off shot in this scene, and you think that he's going to try and sneak that photo in prior to, so she doesn't see it. But it was nice. I honestly thought he was going to take the photo. Another thing I really liked is it's a really unique alien invasion film, because it's not a global threat. It's isolated to a border between Mexico and the United States. It's like an insurgency war, and the world's sort of living with it. It's not like War of the Worlds, where it's like they're taking over it, everything's getting. It's like there's a war going on in a small part of the world, and it's an insurgency war. And I thought that was very like allegory for like Vietnam War.
Yes.
Or the border issues with like the States and Mexico, with all that talk that was going on for years about building a 100-foot wall and stuff. So it's good. It's a powerful film in regards to what it stands for. Especially like you get that vibe of, I really felt like that Vietnam War thing going on.
Yeah.
I don't know if you ever saw the Oliver Stone film, El Salvador.
I haven't. No.
James Woods. That's about a photographer in a war zone, essentially. Really similar. Like I was saying, like Michael Herr's Dispatches as well. There's a lot of, I feel like if I could guess at some of his influences, I'd say them two especially.
Yeah, sounds like they're related.
Yeah, potentially. I mean, but it was captured really well, like that sort of insurgency war zone, moving from chasing stories down. It really had that. Final like was the start being the end.
Yeah.
Because it's clever how it makes you think at the start that the action that occurs with the United States soldiers, you do see a blonde woman on the floor, unconscious, and then you see someone who looks like Scoot McNairy, but if you'd never seen the film or seen him before, you wouldn't even think about it, carrying her out of a war zone. And then the film starts and you assume that the blonde woman has been injured because of the start of the film.
Exactly, yeah.
But it's not. And then it was only about 40, 50 minutes in, I realised they were American soldiers that were attending the scene at the start of the film.
Yeah.
And then when she's getting medical treatment, she's in Mexico.
Yeah.
And I was like,
yeah, it's clever.
This must be the end.
Yeah.
That's the end, not the start. Yeah. So, and then obviously it plays into that towards the end.
Yeah, that's smart filmmaking, and I've got to be transparent. It's not something I noticed straight away. I thought, like you explained it there, I thought it was just a linear telling of the story. Oh, this is why she's in hospital. Well, now the story starts. It's only because you brought it to my attention, and I've watched it twice, that you do clock. That's actually really clever. So the beginning of the film is actually a continuation of the end. The start of the film is like effectively the end scene.
Yeah.
And the way that's handled, again, what a stroke from a first-time director to have the foresight to do that.
So the stage one end of the film then is them having a kiss in the forecourt of a garage after watching a beautiful scene of these like aliens communicating.
Yeah.
And it's really weird as well because, and I'll get to that in my dislikes, but the aliens actually look very, very well made in that last scene. I thought. Like in the last scene, I thought they looked better than they had earlier in the film.
Okay, this is interesting.
But it was strange. If you watch it again, they're much more clearer. Their lines are there's more clarity to their form.
Yeah.
In the rest of the film, they're always obscured. They're either underwater or there's half of them on the side, or they're shot in a shaky camera. The last scene is different. It's very clear. It's very open.
See, I have conflicting things to say about that, but we'll get into that when we get into the dislikes.
Well, I've got a dislike that might be related to that thing that you've got conflicting going on over there.
So like this film, this podcast is layered too.
Lasagna.
Look at us go.
Lasagna.
What I liked most about the film is you touched on it already, it's sci-fi with something to say. Monsters felt like it was more than your usual alien invasion film. I sniffed out metaphors relating to immigration, the dangers of crossing the American border, how society can profit from tragedy, and the way in which refugees can often be treated like aliens. Whilst there are similar themes explored in the superior and unofficial companion piece, District 9, I still applaud any film that is more than just surface-level spectacle. Now, you were speaking of similarities you found with Dispatches and El Salvador. For me, I also see similarities with District 9, where the story's not focused on day one. It's not focused on they've invaded, what do we do? It's a while into the invasion.
You're right as well, because the prawns are only isolated to South Africa.
Exactly. Yeah.
It's that insurgency war sort of isolated incident.
It's not world
not
domination. It's country inconvenience,
which is cool. Ooh.
And for me, I think if you've seen District 9, it's a bigger film. It's one of the greatest, in my humble opinion, sci-fi films ever.
Excellent.
If you've seen District 9 and you liked the smell of that, you should give Monsters a taste, because they do similar things and they're both very interesting, more than just your usual alien invasion films.
But it's fair to say, and this is not a slight on Monsters, but District 9 production-wise looks so much better.
Yeah, I'll go out on a whim here and say District 9 had a lot more to play with in terms of budget. And
special effects.
Yeah.
I mean, brilliant.
Yeah, and for me, if a film is about alien invasion, and it's not just about the survival and fighting off outer space beasties, if it actually speaks to real life issues like this one does, like District 9, that's really smart in my book, because you can relate real life to outer world things. Of course you can. And when a director or a film does that, when it treads that line between fantasy and reality, I really enjoy it.
Yeah, I've always been a huge fan of like allegory and subtext. Like you think back to George Orwell's Animal Farm and how it stood for like the communism and the proletariat and all of that stuff. It's interesting that you could almost have a kid's book about animals with such a deep message underneath it. And I've always enjoyed that, always.
Daddy likes dancing with deep rootage, yeah?
I do indeed.
Yeah.
I do indeed.
Another thing I loved about it is this, it gives you this really amazing alien atmosphere. Monsters does a great job of building tension and threat without showing a great deal. The audience is thrown into a world where aliens are part of everyday existence in a very specific part of the globe. And the danger is more in the sort of aftermath of destruction rather than in the moments we are watching on screen. And I really liked that the menace was in the background rather than the forefront. And that great sense of impending danger and unseen threat really worked for me. Daddy liked the details of destruction and damage dealt by the dangly dudes.
It's fear, though. Fear's the danger in this. You see it in the end scene with the aliens sort of almost having a dance in a forecourt, communicating. There's affection there. They're almost like whales. There's a family hierarchy of sort of esque thing going on, and the fear comes from them being aliens. So the aliens are only destructive when jets fly over and stuff. Yeah,
they retaliate.
Yeah. Whereas you see that they're not all destructive. That they're actually they're there, due to this NASA expedition that's explained at start in graphics. But it's all to do with fear. Like we approach it like they're enemies, so we're attacking them. So then they fight back. That's the only reason there's devastation in the war zone. It's like you could put it down to the fear of religion. You could put it down to the fear of saying that just because, say, Saddam Hussein was a dictator, that all Iraqis are bad.
Yeah, it's ridiculous.
And the American soldier, say, goes into Iraq, or the British soldier goes into Iraq, and he doesn't know who his enemy is.
Yeah.
His fear makes him make a bad choice and kill an innocent.
It's that, isn't it? It's the fear of unknown. So they see these, 80-foot spider, octopus, disco-like demon dudes.
You did it.
Like, having a chat, potentially down to fuck each other. But because you don't know what that is, you immediately think, fucking hell, it's massive. Fucking hell, it looks like an octopus spider with disco lights. There's two of them. Are they about to fuck? Are they about to fight? What's going on? It's that unknown. And the film taps into that, like you say. It's that fear. It's because it's something alien. It's immediately, that's a threat. But you don't know. They could be top dudes.
They have like a turtle sort of gestation thing, didn't they? Where they bring their kiddywinks to a tree, like them mushroom things that were glowing, and then they go down to the water and then create an octopus. No,
like their babies?
I think so. He was talking about that's how they reproduce.
Oh,
sort of like a turtle.
I thought it was just another bit of smeggy alien stuff that got splat on a tree and it just started vibing with the tree.
Could be.
I don't know. Not sure.
Smeggy alien stuff.
I mean, there's lots I like about this film, but the third and final thing I've got written down is the man himself, Scoot McNairy. What a name, by the way.
Handsome.
I think he's a great actor, and I'm pleased whenever I see him pop up in a film. The fact that all the scenes were improvised makes me like him even more. Monsters give us a glimpse of a very naturalistic actor, and I, for one, would like to see him in more things.
Definitely.
Now, he's one of those actors that is just in so much, and you don't realise how much the man's actually in. He has very small, often perceived as insignificant roles, but he's been in Argo, Killing Them Softly, 12 Years a Slave, A Quiet Place Part 2, Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, Gone Girl.
See, that's the thing. He's familiar, but I can never pinpoint him.
But do you think from his performance in this, don't you think he deserves a bit more?
I think he's got a face that could potentially be up there with the big names.
He does have a face.
And he can act. I mean, he has a face.
He does. That is a fact.
He has a face.
Yeah.
He's very charismatic. And what I like about him is he's not like Cena. He's not Brad Pitt. He's not like jawline. He's not just, good looks. He's charismatic. There's depth there.
I would say his good looks are layered like a lasagna.
Yes.
Like this film.
Yes.
I think he's a good-looking lasagna lad.
I think so as well.
That deserves to be tasted by more people with a side of delicious garlic bread.
He's got the name.
He's got the name.
He's got the face.
He's got the face. He has got a face.
He does have a face.
He has a name. He has a face. And he is an actor.
The man with a face.
The man with a face is an actor and a name.
Starring Scoot McNairy.
Yes. But I just think he's got a great quality to him. And he shows in this film that, it's 14 years old, this film.
Wow.
It shows that he can handle being front and centre of a project. He shows that if we're led to believe that so much of this was improvised, it shows that the man showcases a lot of creativity to be able to navigate that. And with his partner in crime, Whitney Able, aka the wife of the time, be able to sort of juggle that and just make it all up. It shows that there's a real talent there. And I'm baffled, unless he's some sort of...
He might be Billy Crudup, in a way. Like
Picky.
He might be like, I want to do a role I'm interested in.
But then he did Quiet Place Part 2.
Who?
Scoot McNair.
Did he? I didn't watch it. I didn't like the first one.
But, I mean, I think there's something to be said when you look at the fact he did Argo, Killing Them Softly, 12 Years a Slave, Gone Girl, and Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. These are all prestigious films. So maybe you're right. Maybe he's a picky Scoot.
Well, Crudup's still picky, but he still did Eat, Pray, Love with Julia Roberts.
Yeah.
But he also did Sleepers and Big Fish.
Everybody
and Spotlight.
gets one. So everybody gets one, right?
Everyone gets one.
Yeah. What didn't you like about Monsters?
Sam Wyndon's dad wanting to have an intervention about getting his daughter home by making her almost miss the train that will get her home. That pissed me off.
Wait, you're going to have to unload
so
that a bit.
So when they're at the train station
and
the train turns up, she's talking to her dad on the phone and they're like, the train's here. Scoot McNairy's like, train's here, we've got to go. And he's like, I want to talk to him. And Sam's like, he wants to talk to you. And he's like, train's here. And he's on the phone and he's like, yeah, no, I'll get her there. I've got to look after her and stuff. And he's like, I've got to go, the train's going. He's like, wait, hold on. I need to talk to you a bit more. I'm like, dude, you want her home?
Yeah.
Let him get on the train.
Yeah.
Let him get on the train.
Yeah.
I hate that. When you're sidestepping away from someone, like Julian from Asda, and you're trying to get, and they keep talking, you're like, oh, no, have a nice day, mate. No, that's cool. Yeah, I got to go. Oh,
lingerers.
I didn't tell her about my daughter. And you're like, wait, I need to go.
Yeah.
Stop hooking me in.
Yes, those motherfuckers that come to visit you at home and go, right, we're off now, and then stand at the door when you're trying to see them out for another 20 minutes going, oh, did you hear what Beth did the other week? And you're like, well, why didn't we do that when we were sat down? Don't lie to me and say you're leaving and then stick around.
And then they're there so long at the stairwell just as they're about to leave that they go, oh, I will use the toilet before I go.
Yeah.
Oh, I liked your thing in the bathroom. I'm going to kill you in a minute.
If you don't get out of my house now, I'm going to drown you in your own piss.
Oh, God.
That escalated, huh?
Another dislike. Why is she there and therefore in need of rescuing in the first place? Or did I miss that? Because the start of the film implies that makes you think that she's there because of the injury at the start of the film, that she's in the hospital. But when you realise when you watch the end of the film, the start is the end. Why is she even in Mexico? Daughter of a billionaire businessman.
Yeah.
She does. I don't think she even says she's doing charity work. I don't think she says she's doing anything.
It reeks of that for me, though. Daughter to a daddy billionaire. There's an alien threat. Yeah, there's conflict in Mexico, and she's got the means to be able to be like, well, I want to go and help.
Like Greta Thunberg.
Yeah,
kind of.
Yeah.
Well, she comes from a very wealthy family. I'm quite sure she does. She's a millionaire, but she, goes around the world telling people stop killing turtles.
Yeah, and if I had loads of money and support financially, I would be trying to help more.
No, you wouldn't.
Yeah, I would.
Don't lie to the listeners that there's not an ounce of altruism in you, so you're not charitable.
I would have dogs.
What would you do? Oh, yeah. Okay, I'll give you that. You would go out of your way to save dogs.
I'm saying I'd probably be a bit nicer to the world if the world was a bit nicer to me. All right. And if I had loads of money, I think I would be dancing more happily.
Do you know what I said to my other half the other day, driving back from the Lake District? I said, if I was a millionaire, I'd buy 10 Hyundai i10s. These are tiny little cars, little runaround cars. I'd buy 10 of them, right? And every prick that tried to overtake on a turn or caused dangerous driving or pulled out on me, I'd hit them with my Hyundai i10. I'd just write my car off, get out the car and walk. Because I'd be a millionaire. So as much as they take points off, and you know what? Because if they're making the dangerous manoeuvre in the road, and I just go, I'm not going to slow down. He's literally had to tuck right in front of me because he's overtaking, and now I'm going to hit him. I write off his Audi, his really expensive car, but I'm a millionaire. It's a Hyundai i10. I throw the keys in the car, I go, see you, mate.
So you would be the well-financed consequence.
I would.
You'd be like, going to act like a dick on the road? Yeah, boff.
Yeah. I got 10 of these, dude.
Yeah.
I got 10 of these.
It means
little
nothing
dogs.
to me.
Means absolutely nothing.
It's a pack of chewing gum to me, bro.
Yeah. So if I was a millionaire, I wouldn't be charitable at all. I would be that person who no longer feels the consequence of, I've just wrote off my car, or, people stepping in line and stuff. I'd accidentally fall into them and stuff. I'd just be a dick.
You'd be a vehicle vigilante.
I would.
Go and get it.
What did you call it? The financial consequencer.
Yeah. That's a film. Starring the face Scoot McNairy.
Consequencer.
The Consequencer. I'd watch that. What else didn't you jive with?
This started as a dislike. So it became a like, but I've kept it in dislikes. When I realised the budget constraints of the film and how he edited it himself and did all of that work. So initially I was watching it, I thought, God, some of CGI is really shit.
Yeah.
Some of CGI is bad. Like I saw
I thought this.
I saw a tank, like an Abrams tank or something, a US tank, and I thought, it doesn't even look like it's got texture to it. But if you notice, every time he shows a tank or a helicopter or a big backdrop of a city, the camera's always shaking, or there's always something else in the shot to sort of take your eyes away, so you can't focus too much on the bad CGI.
Yes.
So it started as a dislike. I started watching the film, I was instantly like, oh, that CGI is a bit rough.
Yeah.
But then the more I found out about it, the more I read, I thought this was 6-7 crew members in a van popping around countries, and he sat in a room with mass market consumer product software and edited this himself.
Yeah.
And I thought, fair play to you, because you had no choice really, and you did pull it. You pulled it off enough for it to be an enjoyable film. It wasn't too distracting. I appreciated the artistic, sort of the way he approached it. Like, gosh, let's have a shaky camera shot for the tank going by, so you can't really focus on it. I thought that was quite clever. It reminded very much of, like, say, Spielberg with Jaws, when the mechanical shark didn't work. He used the camera in first person. That's genius.
That's smart.
Yeah, so I like that trickery. I think real filmmaking does come from adapting to limitations.
Yeah, I mean, credit where credit's due. When he can skirt around using the big clunky CGI, he does, and he does it well. Like you say, he's sort of hiding in plain sight. Where he can, he draws your attention elsewhere, so you're not noticing too much of the bad CGI, like you say.
Yeah.
And I think that is smart filmmaking. But if you'll allow me, I'll jump in the toboggan with you.
Only if I can just say this: there is a drastic improvement in the CGI for the end shot.
See,
There is.
I'm going to jump in the toboggan.
If we
with
go
you.
and watch it right after, I'll show you the improvement. I'm talking about the long shot. So the one where they're looking at the aliens quite far off in the distance, there's a lot more clarity to them.
Yeah.
Whereas early in the film, you could see it. You really noticed it. Yeah, so it was a dislike. And then by the time I finished watching the film and I read a bit more about it, I was like, oh, it's an achievement, really. I mean, it doesn't look good. Aspects of the CGI do not look good. Someone else hasn't stepped in and started talking on my behalf, by the way. My throat has changed.
Yeah, that's fine.
Let me taste a sup of this soldier herb.
Yeah, well, I'll tailgate that a little, and it's one thing that I didn't really like about the film, and it's not the film's fault. It's not filmmaker Gareth Edwards' fault. It is that dated CGI. Now, I still think there is a lot about monsters that really works, like we've already mentioned, and consider it a solid film that only shows its age when it comes to the special effects. Now, this dog came out in 2010, so a small budgeted science fiction film is bound to look dated at 14 years of age. footage. That being said, it is a distraction that may have benefited from keeping the less is more approach. Now, you've done it all. You said it all there. That's the perfect summary of the CGI. I think when we one of the final scenes of the film is where we see this journeying couple of people see the aliens at their full extent, their largest point. Like we see them in all their glory. Like you say, when it's focused on them and they're bigger than, they're right in the landscape, aren't they? They're on the horizon. They're huge, bigger than buildings. Yeah. When the sort of tentacles go into the building,
that didn't look good.
That for me, where I was like, that looks really dated. And for me, I'd been like, you've done so well. Like for the most part, we see these aliens in night vision, or we see them on a telly in the background. So you're not up close and personal with them, and that works in the film's favour. Then that final scene where you sort of see them infiltrate a garage?
There's some sort of attraction with signals because it touches the TV.
Yeah, it gets something from the electric.
And Sam turns it off.
Yeah,
because she finds a link. You assume she finds a link.
Yeah, but for me, when it was the close-up CGI, like you, it didn't really work for me. And also, how dare 2014 be a fucking decade ago?
No,
it feels like yesterday. Is this old age?
Feels like it.
Like 2010 was 14 years ago, but for me, that feels like 2010. Yeah, a few years.
I know
back.
It's strange, isn't it?
Yeah,
it's because it's the number, isn't it? If you, I was born in '88. I think you were 87 or 86. And so the 90s was our nostalgia years. So when you just think the 2000s is young, you think it's early.
Yeah, because we remember 2000.
It's not. I wonder what 2000 will be our last.
Oh, fucking hell, mate.
60, 2055?
2026 for me, I'd say.
Does that even sound right? Your man born in 86. Like, you were born in the 80s. You lived through the 90s. Britpop, Guns N' Roses, all the fucking lunchboxes, man.
Fucking lunchboxes, man.
But no phones.
I'm going to cry.
I'm going to die in 2050 in a plane crash.
Fucking hell. Well, I'll go on to my final dislike, and it's too many legs. Too many legs.
Is it more than 8, though?
It's too many legs. I was not a fan of tower-sized spider-octopus hybrids and their hench armoured legs. Even with the dated CGI, I still didn't like the spider-like movements, and it made me think of gigantic spiders, and I did not like this.
The scariest aliens are the simplest. It's the bipedal, almost humanoid ones from No One Will Save You.
Yeah.
It's them ones. They're the scariest because they're quite ghost-looking. They're like, oh, what are you doing, dude, in this kitchen? Fucking hell, what is that? But the huge, big, bulky, like War of the Worlds ones and stuff, they don't scare me.
I mean, I would argue they would scare you if we looked out the window now and there was one huge dog there.
Well, yeah, in terms of dying. But in terms of like being creeped out in your house, I'd be more scared if a little two-legged, crawly little cunt was running around my roof than if someone said, oh, there is an entire bus of an alien down the road. I'd be like, so?
I'm not getting on that alien bus. Fuck that alien bus. I've got some questions. Which actor would you like to be stuck in an alien invasion with?
Oh, for God's sake.
It's the classic. It's the classic Podcorn Kernel question. I had to ask it.
Ryan Gosling.
Yep, guess whose mine is?
What?
Idris Elba.
Oh, for God's sake.
Moving on.
It's never going to change.
No. I consider Monsters and District 9 to be somehow related to one another because of the themes and narratives they share. Would you rather be stuck in Mexico amidst the alien invasion in this film or in South Africa with the prawns?
Mexico. I prefer the food.
I went Monsters too, but not because of the food.
I did. Did you not see the lovely, fajita wraps they were eating when they were in that lovely woman's shack?
For me, the aliens in Monsters are just big octopus dude and dudettes keeping themselves to themselves that like electricity. The prawns, there's an element of they're trying to infiltrate, and it's all a little bit...
The prawns have the technology to be a fighting force.
Exactly. Whereas if there is big 80-foot octopus spider light discos in the sky, I'm going to stay out their way. I can see them, so I'm staying out of the way. Prawns, they could break into your home.
That's true, but they are nice prawns as well.
They are nice prawns.
That's the message, isn't it?
It is not
in both films.
Not all prawns are pricks.
No.
And not all octopuses are arseholes.
The right to bear arms. Second Amendment.
What?
I don't know if that's the correct amendment.
who knows? I mean, there is people out there that know.
Yeah.
Yeah. Why do you think our audience keeps requesting alien invasion specific science fiction films?
Because it's alien. It's other.
Yeah, I mean, we've done a fair few requested episodes, and thank you to Cara Lynn for requesting this one. We had a great time watching it seems. But we've had 3 of these sorts of films requested so far. Nope, The Vast of Night and Monsters. And it got me thinking, why? Are we as a society, as a species, we're just so desperate for other, so want to welcome. We want to welcome something else to break up the monotony of it all.
Yeah, but in terms of conspiracy theory, which is a huge industry, aliens is at the forefront of all of that, isn't it? UFOs, the search for extraterrestrial life, is the biggest. I don't want to say myth because it's. You can't, without being able to prove it, you can't.
It's like it's a myth. It's unanswered questions, isn't it?
But like people look back into history and they go, look at this hieroglyphic this Egyptian did. Yeah. They're looking up at a disc in the sky.
Yeah,
and this is a 4,000-5,000 year old hieroglyphic. So there's some they can attach some substance to that evidence and be like, so there must be extraterrestrial life. I think there's a huge fascination. I mean, I love alien films.
Yeah, well, me too, totally. And I love it. I love when a listener requests these sorts of films because I do love to watch them. But I just find it quite fascinating that any one of our listeners can request a film, but the most highly requested films are these sort of films. And I think it speaks to sort of a profound, almost primal sense of we don't really want to believe this is it. Whether that's religion, spiritual, other worlds, aliens, multiverses, whatever it is. I think we all buy into that thought of there's got to be more out there.
Well, that's it in a nutshell. It's another form of religion. It's a way of trying to take comfort from the world. It's bigger than this planet we're on. It's bigger. If there's more explanation out there, like if there's aliens, if there's other things, then it's more magical. Life's more magical. Yeah. It's not 9 till 5 in a supermarket and struggling to feed your kids. Look, there's something bigger out there, something bigger and better.
Something more.
Yeah, it's up there. It is religion. It is a religion. It's just there's not really a name for the god.
No.
That's what I think.
Space.
The final frontier.
You did it. What would you rate Monsters out of 10, please?
7.
Yeah, I did as well.
For the undertaking.
The undertaking?
Yeah, it's to achieve that with 7 people just jumping from country to country, like you said, the improv, the realism in the acting, and when they're in the jungle with the soldiers and they're explaining to Sam in Spanish because our main man Scoot doesn't understand Spanish. It's really fascinating scene.
Yeah.
You almost believe them guys.
It feels like it's because of the genetic setup of the film, because there was no script. It feels almost documentary-like because they're not reading lines, they're not practicing scenes. So it's as if it is a documentary. They're just showing this is people's reactions to whatever's happening.
They're not hindered by a script.
Well, no, and these aren't actors trying to perform. These are people that are just reacting to whatever's being said in front of them. These are just your normal average Joes responding. And I like you said, all of that works for me. And when you take into consideration it's 14 years of age, you take into consideration the not crisp CGI, the lack of script, the improv, all of this, for it to score a 7 out of 10 for a science fiction debut film, I think that's a bloody good score.
And to be Schneider accredited.
Yeah. In Schneider we trust.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I would believe that whoever runs the Schneider sort of auditions to what enters, look at all of it. They don't just look at the film they watch. They look at how was it made.
Exactly.
Well, that's how you should do it.
Yeah, because it deserves huge credit for what it's done in its, like you're saying, its undertaking. It deserves massive kudos for that. If you like your sci-fi films to be menacing, metaphorical, and made amidst an alien immigration problem, or if you've ever wanted to see a McNary scoot his boot through a majorly infested Mexico, then Monsters could be a film for you. Monsters is available to buy or rent from Amazon Prime and other video on-demand platforms. Consider watching this one if you enjoyed District 9, The Creator, and Civil War. Should we play a game?
Give it a name, give it a name, give it a name now. We birth a plot and then make a trailer. What the plot?
Action!
There's a medieval village. It has a curse put upon it by a hunchback man who was teased and brutalised all his life by the village for his ailment. The curse makes it that if any woman has not been with child before her 20th year, she becomes a feral, vicious blood drinker. A strange law is enacted in the village where women have to copulate with the elders to fall pregnant before their 20th birthday. Our protagonist is a woman who has only ever given birth to stillborn children and therefore cannot be cursed, and only she can fight the hunchback who cursed them. But when she finally challenges the hunchback, he tells her there is no curse. The elders made it up to populate their cult with believers, which they will continue to deflower.
Oi, so they're just a pervy group of pensioners looking to get their penises wet.
They just want to deflower all the young women, and they've pretended there's a curse.
And they villainised the
Hunchback.
unfortunate-looking hunchback.
Because it's easy, isn't it?
Ugh.
It's easy to say it's the hunchback who we've just been horrible to, brutalised and banished into the woods.
Ooh.
Yeah.
I mean, I like that immediately.
And then do hunchback and woman go on elder throat slitting moments together?
Vengeance.
Or does she damage the hunchback to a point where he dies and then tells her as he's dying it wasn't him? Oh, that's tragic. That actually would cut me. If that poor hunchback fucker like dies and tells her I didn't curse it. It's the elders.
Oh, that's so sad.
And he is the product of incest because of their controlling the sex.
Look at these lasagna layers that just keep flying in out of your head.
I didn't even write them bits.
Yeah, that's fantastic.
Post-part.
It's distracting me because I'm fully in on this. I love this.
Yeah, I can go over bits if it was a bit too much.
The woman who hasn't been able to give birth before 20 has got older, and they allow her.
She had stillborns,
so she's been given a pass.
Well, it's just
effectively.
if you've ever carried a child. So she had stillborns. So when she was younger, so she was in she was married or something. So she avoids the curse. Anyone that's had a baby doesn't get cursed. It's the young women that haven't married or been married into other families and haven't fallen pregnant before their 20th birthday. So then that's when the old prima nocta-esque elders do a bit of midsummer in a barn with them to get them pregnant.
So the younger men of the community aren't allowed to pregnate these young women. It has to be these elders for what?
It can be in the arranged marriages. Like, so some not all brides get married off quick enough, do they? Like, say there's a surplus of women in the village, like, and what did they used to call them? There was a name for like women that didn't end up getting married before a certain birthday in real life. And what is the word?
Spinster?
Spinster, yeah. Spinster, which is quite cruel, but at the time it was the official word for it. So if people get married into families, they control a lot of that as well, like, because they're the elders, so they approve the marriage and stuff, so they could manipulate it. So look, say there's one that they like, they'll never approve a marriage or get a perfect suitor for him, and as that birthday approaches, the fear of becoming a vicious sort of feral blood-sucking thing, like, looks running around just out of its mind, wild. But the way that they manage to do it's feral is that they have some sort of like drug concoction poppy thing that sends them mad. We can get that sorted later.
Yeah.
When we make the film.
Yeah. We'll flesh out the minor details.
At a later
date.
But it's more about the manipulation to serve their ends.
Yeah. And
blaming it on a hunchback.
So they're putting this expectation and pressure on young women, and they're saying it. It's not us. Hey, just because we're old dudes, we're not just wanting to have sex with young women. No, we're not monsters. It's because that hunchback over there, he's put a curse on us, isn't it?
Yeah, I see the film starting with a 19-year-old girl, sitting in her little fire, dimly lit, horrible room, like, just plain faced, knowing full well that in 24 hours, like, she's going to be turning into something. And that could be like subtext for change anyway. Yeah. In becoming a mother and stuff, but then the elders come to the room and they take her out, and it just goes into a barn, and then the title of the film comes up, and then we move into the meat of the film.
Yeah, I like that.
And maybe the kids are being taught like on the grass in the fields about the hunchback and why it has to be that way.
So these women that reach 20 and they haven't
had a baby,
hadn't conceived or had a baby,
or even if you've been pregnant.
Okay, if they don't achieve this, what's happened to them? The elders do something behind the scenes that make people think that they get a curse.
They could disappear.
Okay.
They could disappear and say that we had to. They were taken.
So kind of like the village vibes in
terms of the lie.
Yeah.
But in the village they don't. They're doing it for good. What they believe to be good.
Yeah.
In this, they're doing it so they can feed their cult.
Yeah.
With virgin brides.
Yeah.
And keep that weird sex cult sort of thing going on.
Yeah. No, I'm big into this. It's my sort of film.
I mean, I haven't hit it perfectly. There's things to flesh out, but I was thinking there could be some sort of concoction. Like we know for a fact that there's drugs in the world that can just make your brain go dozy, make you nuts. Like people with rabies. Like, let's take this in. Rabies makes you nuts.
Yeah,
makes a dog crazy. Maybe they have like these bats that they've captured, and then they make it like they tie the women up and bite them and give them rabies, send them nuts, and then let them out into the village and they see for themselves.
So then women are like, shit, if we don't have sex with these old men, if we don't fall pregnant. And I guess them falling pregnant, it goes into the community grows. They can keep this
and it's another
twisted cycle of fake cursing and fucking keep going to suit the benefits of these dodgy old dudes.
Yeah, we'd need a good 10 hours in a script.
Yeah. No, I
in
really,
essence, that's the...
Yeah, I really enjoy that. It's a straight thriller, drama, dark,
9 out of 10.
Yeah, brilliant, yeah. I love the sound of this. In terms of casting, as the Hunchback, you need a very physical actor, and I've gone with Joaquin Phoenix. Oh. Not because he's got a little bit of a distorted body himself, but I just think he's a very physical actor. I think he could play that vulnerable, perceived villain really well. I mean, we know he can do it.
I thought you were going to go Will Dafoe.
Oh, that would be a good shout.
Yeah, my favourite.
That would have been a great shout. But I like that Joaquin Phoenix is that little bit younger. So, like, he's not seen as by all as this. Like, you could sort of be like, oh, he's really just misunderstood. Like, he's a bit younger. Willem Dafoe does great characters like that. But I'll stick with Joaquin Phoenix because that's what I've got. I like him in that role. And as the sort of the woman that makes everyone know that this curse is all bullshit, I'd have gone Vanessa Kirby.
Who's in Napoleon?
I think they've got a good working chemistry together. I just like them both as actors. I'd like to see Vanessa Kirby more, so I think that would work really well.
My opinion's dropped of them huge.
Because of that film?
Because of Napoleon.
Yeah, I understand what you mean, but I do think both Joaquin Phoenix and Vanessa Kirby are decent actors. I just don't think that was a very good film, unfortunately.
I only saw her in The Crown. Obviously, I've seen Joaquin in dozens of films.
Yeah, no, there's something about Vanessa Kirby I like. I think she's going to go on to big good things.
Big good.
And big good. And I think directing a film, I'd have Brandon Cronenberg, who did Possessor and Infinity Pool. Now, he's an up and coming young director who's making a name for himself in really dark, sort of twisted cinema.
Is he related to?
Yes,
the Cronenberg?
Daddy David. Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, so I think he's got he's making a name for himself with that. Both Possessor and Infinity Pool are really quite twisted thrillers, dark dramas with something to say. So I think he'd be good there. So yeah, Joaquin Phoenix, Vanessa Kirby, directed by Brandon Cronenberg, and I'd call the film Hunch. Our village is said to be cursed by an outsider who has only seen cruelty and neglect from the village he calls home.
I'm surprised you've even come to talk to me. I haven't spoke to anyone all winter.
The new film from Brandon Cronenberg, son of David, director of Possessor and Infinity Pool. The elders demand the young woman pillow with them to keep the curse at bay. I have done my duty. They keep me around to keep the younger women in line.
I'm not a monster. The only curse that has befallen this village is the one put on me.
A woman's curse is obligation. They fear what will happen to them if they don't do what they are told. I know that them doing their duty is worse than any curse.
If I could bestow evil on anyone, it would be those who cast me aside, not those victim to the same tyranny as me.
Don't always believe what you're told. Hunch. Coming soon.